Hello and welcome back to the lesson. In this video, we're going to start discussing about tuples in Python. Tuples are basically used to store multiple items in a single variable, just like the list we've discussed in the previous lessons. And a tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. So what do we mean by ordered? That simply means each and every element inside a tuple has a unique index number. That's exactly what makes it ordered. And also a tuple is unchangeable or immutable, meaning that once you create a tuple, you cannot change or update its value directly. But don't worry, there's always a way around everything, and I'll show you a way around how to update or change the value of a tuple after creating one. And a tuple is created or written with round brackets. So now let's go ahead and create a tuple with round brackets. Now let's come down here and create a variable called my tuple. Like so, and is created with round brackets, so like so. Now we're going to go ahead and start specifying the element that will be inside of our tuple. So we're going to go ahead and say we have banana, apple, and orange, something like this. So friend, this is basically how to create a tuple. As you can see, the difference between how to define a tuple and a set is basically the brackets they are wrapped in. For set, we use square bracket, and for tuple, we use round bracket. So this is basically how we recognize or how we differentiate between a list and a tuple. It's just the bracket that they're surrounded with. So friend, this is basically how we define or create a tuple in Python. Now let's go ahead and try to print out the value of our tuple. Print my tuple, something like this. And now let's go ahead and run our program. As you can see, we have our tuple return of banana, apple, and orange. And just like list, a tuple also accepts duplicate because it's ordered. Alright, each element has a unique index, so it doesn't matter if you have a duplicate element. So now let's go ahead and try that. Let's come over here. As you can see, we already have banana, so let's go ahead and define banana again, like so. And let's go ahead and add, let's say orange. Sorry, this has to be within a quotation. Alright, let's say orange. Copy that, paste it right here. So as you can see, we have duplicate items. So this is totally fine because tuple accepts duplicate as well. So let's go ahead and now run our program. Alright, as you can see, we have no problem whatsoever. And also, to create a tuple with only one single element, you must add a comma right after the element. Otherwise, Python is not going to recognize that as a tuple, but rather a string. Let me actually go ahead and show you exactly what I mean. Now let's go ahead and comment this line of code. Now let's come over here and said we wanted to define my tuple again, like so. And let's say we have only one element inside of our tuple. Let's say we have apple, like so. So for Python to recognize this as a tuple, we must add a comma right here after the element. Otherwise, it's not going to be seeing it as a tuple. Let me actually go ahead and show you so that you can see it for yourself. So now this is a tuple. Now if we try to print the type, let's go ahead and say use the type method. And copy this, my tuple, copy, paste it right inside of our type method. Now we're trying to print the type of this our tuple. Now let's go ahead and run our script. As you can see, we have a tuple. It says this is a tuple. It recognizes it as a tuple. Now let's go ahead and remove the comma right here and just define it like so without adding the comma after the first element. Now this is not going to be recognized as a tuple, but rather a string. So let's go ahead and see for ourselves. Now if we run our script, as you can see, this is a string. So you have to take note and always add a comma after the single element when defining a tuple with only one item. So this is basically not a tuple. Let me actually go ahead and comment that. Not a tuple. And let's actually go ahead and copy this. Come down below here, paste this. Now if we add our comma, and we're going to go ahead and say this is a tuple. Let me separate this like so. Okay. And of course, tuple items can be of any data type, just like the list. Now let's go ahead and define a couple of tuples with different data types. Now let's come down below here. Okay, let me give more room, like so. And let's say we have a tuple 1, which is going to be a string tuple. Let's say mango, orange, and apple. Okay, and let's define another tuple 2. Tuple 2 should be a tuple of integer values. So let's go ahead and say we have 5, 7, 2, 8, and 1. And let's go ahead and define one last tuple 3, which is going to be a tuple of Boolean data types. Let's say true, false, false, and true. Okay, so as you can see, a tuple item can be of any data type, and at the same time tuple items can be of a combination of different data types. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say we have another tuple called tuple 4, which is going to be a combination of different data types. Let's say we have an integer like let's say 78, true, a Boolean data type string, let's say pineapple. Alright, and say 2.5. So now let's go ahead and try to print the type of each of these tuples to see if they are exactly tuples, if they are recognized as tuples in Python. So let's come over here. So now let's go ahead and start with the first one, tuple 1. Copy, paste it right here, and now we're trying to print out the type of this tuple 1 to see whether it's recognized as a tuple or not. So let's go ahead and run our script. As you can see, a tuple, yes, this is of course a tuple. Tuple 2, paste it right here and run our script. Yes, it's also a tuple of int data type. And tuple 3, which contains elements of Boolean data type, paste it. Tuple 3, run our script. Yes, it's also recognized as a tuple. And the last but not least, tuple 4, which is a combination of different data types. Let's go ahead and run our script. As you can see, it is also a tuple. So friend, that will be it for this video. I hope everything is clear to you. Now you know exactly how to create or write a tuple in Python. We basically discussed about how to create a tuple using a round brackets like so. We define a tuple, and we also went ahead to discuss that tuples also allow duplicates, and that to create a tuple with a single element, you must add a comma after the single element. Otherwise, Python is not going to recognize it as a tuple, just like we've exemplified right here. And we also learned that tuples item can be of any data type. And we also learned that tuples item can be a combination of multiple data types, just like we've seen it right here in tuple 4. And I hope everything is clear to you in this video. And in our next video, we will be discussing about how to access tuple items. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.